Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and inside of this unboxing video, we are obviously checking out the final version of Uprising: Curse of the Last Emperor from Nemesis Games. Now, it's worth mentioning that I did cover this one on the channel around December 2020 for the crowdfunding campaign that made this game come to life. And inside of that video, it will give you a great idea as to whether or not this game is a fit for you. I'll put a link to it in the top right-hand corner if you're interested. Now, you might be thinking, well, how do I get on the train at this point if the train has already left the station? Well, guess what? This one is coming back in a reprint on GameFound, and it's landing for April 26th. I'll put a link to that in the video description and pinned comment so you can jump in if you're interested. Inside of this video, we're going to go through everything inside this core box, and at a high level, we'll check out the Arch-Nemesis expansion and a small side box as well that came as part of the first crowdfunding campaign. So I really hope all of this helps you make an informed decision as to whether or not Uprising is for you. When you first open up the box, you're going to be greeted with a whole bunch of punch boards. Let's go ahead and take them out, and we'll go through them one at a time. Now, as we move through these punch boards, I'll also show you the back side of them as well, because there is designs on either side in iconography. There's some beautiful artwork on each of the tiles as well. You'll see as I flip these over. It looks so much better up close and in person than what it did back when it was on Tabletop Simulator. It's really cool to see things go from prototype form, especially digitally, and then actually coming out in a physical copy. Here is a look at the game board itself unfolded, and you can see there is a score track all the way around the outside. You've got your terrain area here, skeletons and garrisons mentioned out over here. Again, references for the gameplay itself. And then the actual gameplay area over here divided up into areas like Fog Grave, the Howling White, the Screaming Sea, for example. And on the other side of the game board is just these things again, but rotated for the players on the opposite side. Here's a look at the top section of the game board. I've just folded the bottom section underneath to make it easier, but you'll see things are upside down because, again, depending on which side of the table you're sitting on. And of course, the score track starting in the 0 position runs all the way around the outside of the game board, and you saw the bottom portion in the prior shot. Next up is another game board used during gameplay to house the Imperial Graveyard, the Chaos Graveyard, and the decks for both. Here's a look at the next board. This one has the chapter track along the outside. Again, normally this would be vertical, but to get it inside the shot more clearly, I put it sideways. It'll just list out all the phases inside of that scroll at the top, which is really handy reference during gameplay. Then you have the chapters you move through 1 through 4. You have the quest area, which houses the deck and the quest cards, and then the market area as well. All right, with the punch boards out of the way and the game boards, we now reach the reference cards, and as you can see, the rulebook down below, as well as starting to see the storage solution for the game. I absolutely love it when any game includes any type of reference card that you don't have to go back into the rulebook in order to view things. This is going to be really handy when resolving your combat sequence. Flipping this over to the opposite side, you have the placing and activation reference sheet. With those out of the way, the next thing you run into is the rulebook, and you'll see it actually has its own recessed area within the storage tray for it to stay so that it doesn't shuffle around, which is really cool to see. Inside the rulebook, the first thing you're going to find is the table of contents. It even goes through areas, of course, that we saw at a high level on one of the boards for the chapter track in terms of going through all the different phases. They're all listed out here in terms of learning inside the book. You're also going to notice it's coil bound, which is probably going to make a lot of people happy, because when you have a game on a table and you can actually fold the rulebook over and just place it off to the side and it doesn't take up the entire table, that's really nice. It doesn't sound like much, but I can tell you right now, holding a giant rulebook that's stapled together in your hand while trying to also play with the game on the table or find space for the rulebook to just sit is kind of annoying, to be completely honest, and having a coil-bound one just makes things smaller. So not only is this rulebook smaller in terms of page size, it's not like an 8.5 by 11, it's much smaller, more condensed than that. It's also coil-bound, which makes it really easy to manage and use. Journeying further into the book, you're going to see a full colorful list out of all the components, and then it dives right into the setup. And this is a rough idea as to how the layout of the rulebook goes in terms of the illustrations, iconography, and the general format of the text. At the very back of the rulebook, something I love to see is hints for your first game, so things to be aware of when you're first playing that you may or may not remember or actually be looking for. Also, the most overlooked rules section, which definitely is something that is handy. So there's certain aspects of the game that you might just kind of glaze over, but they're all listed out here as a great reminder. The game also includes a handy index so you can find the exact page based on keywords. With the rulebook out of the way, the next thing we're going to run to is a punch board. We'll go ahead and just flip this over so you can see the opposite side as well, and any illustrations and iconography on it. And then underneath that, we have the player boards. You can expect to see differences in colors across them. So let's go ahead and remove one at a time. The illustrations will also change on them as we go through. That is all of them, and then we get to see this awesome looking storage solution. So on that main level of the organizer, there are 4 different containers, and they're going to house 4 of the different major factions and components inside of these. We're going to go ahead and open up, take a closer look. You'll notice when you open up the tray and bring out the components, there's writing on the inside, faction components and feat card spaces inside the tray. You're also going to notice the quality of these particular pieces and the vibrancy of the artwork on them. They look really, really good. I like them a lot. And then, of course, you got some stands there as well to keep them upright. So each of these are going to be unique across the 4 in the box. Here's a look at them a little closer up. I'm also going to show you each of the factions from all the 4 storage containers on that top tier level. I'm honestly a really big fan of how these look and feel. I mean, it's nice to actually have a game that doesn't have miniatures that are unpainted inside of them. These look really good. Here's a look at the next faction. And the final one right here. As we get down to the bottom of the box, you're going to notice storage trays that have space inside of them. This is always a good thing. It shows that there's lots of organization going on within this one, lots of space for all the components, especially when tokens and everything else are punched out. And there's iconography on everything to really let you know where things are supposed to be. Some of these boxes are even completely empty. I'm going to go ahead and remove a couple of them so we can see even further down. Now at this point, this is truly the bottom portion of the box. So from all the game components that are across all these trays, let's go through each of them one by one, including all the cards. And that, my friends, is going to wrap up the unboxing for just the core box of Uprising: Curse of the Last Emperor. As you can see from this video so far, the component quality and the production value of this game is off the charts. From gameplay I've played myself in the prototype, I was really impressed at the balance of the game itself and the years of development that went into this one. This is definitely one to keep your eye on. Now let's go ahead and shift our focus over to an expansion. Here's a look at the Arch-Nemesis expansion box. Now let's check out the components inside of it. Very similar to the look and feel of the core box, we have what appears to be a very similar storage solution on the inside. You can see the rulebook is recessed in there. But first, we have a couple punch boards to go through. I'll go ahead and just flip these over so you can see both sides of them. When you first open up the rulebook, very similar to the core rulebook, you're going to have your contents, you're going to have an introduction, and you're going to find artwork throughout. As you can see on page number 5, it actually talks about what Arch-Nemesis brings to the equation. It states, if you want your game of Uprising to have a climactic finale in the last chapter, add the Arch-Nemesis to your game. Instead of Hordes and Legion, one of those behemoths will appear at the end of the game for those of you who want to truly test your mettle. Flipping into the book a little further, you're going to find sections related to the expansion factions detailed out. You're also going to find sections that are full of narrative for the chapters. As we dig further inside the box, we have player boards here for the factions, so we'll go ahead and just show you them. And the storage solution underneath, again, looks exactly like the core box. Here's a look inside the box with the covers removed. Similar to the core box, you're going to have standees, and again, these are extremely high quality standees, not like cardboard or anything like that. You've also got packs of cards here. I'll go ahead and pop them out, some tarot-sized cards, and you have standees of varying different colors across all the different factions, and you have markers and a thick deck of mini cards as well. It's also worth mentioning that you can pick up an item pack here called the Armory of Azul. And that, my friends, is going to wrap up the unboxing for Uprising: Curse of the Last Emperor. It's worth noting some new things that are coming as part of the Game Found campaign landing April 26th for Titans of the First Age. So what is this going to introduce into Uprising? Well, it's going to give you a brand new faction where you can play like a horde. It's also going to give you another faction where you're going to be able to play as pirates. You're going to have one new mechanic, which is going to allow you to have rerolls from the old gods. 13 new units, which are going to be focused around mercenaries, 26 new Nemesis tokens, and 3 elite dice. There's also going to be add-ons for the campaign. All of this you'll see when it lands. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope this helps you make an informed decision on the game. And remember, check out the gameplay if you want to see how Uprising works in a solo capacity. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, keep on rolling solo.